First, start with Child Abuse Prevention Month, again wrapping up in just a couple of days. I'm joined by the Executive Director of the Child Abuse Council of Muskegon County, Kylene Geith. Kylene, thank you so much for being here with us here on Evening Plus.
Thank you for having me.
For folks who are not familiar with the council, again based out of Muskegon County, what does the council do? What does it entail? I know it's kind of a tiered setup of several groups.
So the Child Abuse Council is comprised of 3 programs. We have a prevention program, which is in every single school in Muskegon County every year, teaching kids personal body safety, internet awareness, anti-bullying and human trafficking awareness. So those programs go from Head Start on up through high school. We have a CASA program, which is Court-Appointed Special Advocate, and this program trains community volunteers to advocate for the best interests of kids as they work their way through the child abuse and neglect system. Yeah. And then we have the Children's Advocacy Center, which specializes in child sexual abuse victims. So we do on-site forensic interviews, on-site medical exams, on-site counseling. We do court accompaniment, personal body safety, all of those things. So through those 3 programs, we serve over 17,000 kids every year in Muskegon County.
Wow, so really a more than a very faceted approach to tackling this issue in a lot of different ways. You know, schools, outside of schools, and the courts. You know, obviously, Awareness Month for this topic is wrapping up the end of April. Obviously, this is something that the council focuses on year-round, every day. Talk to me a little bit about what you're hoping folks take away from it being, Child Abuse Awareness Month. It's something that a lot of people don't want to think about, but it's important to make sure we're being aware.
Yeah, it's very important. In Muskegon County, which is the county that we serve, in the year 2024, there were 750 children that were confirmed victims of abuse or neglect. And, in our opinion, that's 750 too many.
Of course.
So we want to bring light to the fact that this does happen in every part of our community, in every part of our state, in every part of the country, and that there are resources available for these families. It just takes some intervention, some training, someone to listen, to kind of help guide them on that path to healing. We like to honor those victims in April, so we have a blue ribbon garden that is planted at the courthouse. And so you will see 750 blue ribbons on display at the courthouse just to honor those victims and bring light to what they've gone through.
Absolutely. And it really rings a bell for me, the work that you guys do in schools. Unfortunately, a lot of those situations that you mentioned, we report on here a lot, cases, especially of sextortion situations, which is very common in children and teenagers. Can you talk a little bit more just about what's done in schools to, because that awareness with kids themselves is so important too.
It is. So we start very young. So at the Head Start in kindergarten, that early elementary, it is a puppet presentation in conjunction with my staff that are in the schools, and it's teaching those children basically say no, get away, tell a grown-up right away. So what is a safe touch? What is an unsafe touch? What to do if somebody is harming you, or if somebody is harming one of your friends. What we've seen over the years that these prevention programs are starting to get where kids are now looking out for other kids and also disclosing for them. So the schools are our primary source of disclosures. As you get into that upper elementary and middle school, bullying becomes a big thing. A lot of bullying nowadays takes place on social media. So it's really kind of doing that anti-bullying message with them and giving them some resources. And then human trafficking. Human trafficking is in Muskegon County, it's in every county. And it's describing for these kids what human trafficking is and what to do if you are in that situation.
And I know for some parents, some families, maybe people who don't even have kids yet, hearing about starting this education so young may seem kind of scary, or oh my gosh, we're starting with kindergartners. But really, that awareness, I'm sure you could speak to, is so important for the chance that something does happen. Which sadly, the numbers you gave, it is happening. It does happen in all of our communities.
It does, and we will interview children as young as 3 years old. So these are children that are being interviewed as child sexual abuse victims, and they're as young as 3. So it does happen, and the sooner we can get that knowledge into their hands and teach them how to use that knowledge, the better off we are as a society.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I mentioned before, the topic of sextortion is something we've covered very recently. When it comes to teenagers, I know you kind of spoke a little bit about that, but when it comes to parents of teenagers and what they can be doing, especially that online component that could turn abusive or human trafficking, can you speak to just how important it is to be, monitoring and also have that education with, that age of kids?
It's very important. When I was young, we didn't have social media, and it wasn't, if you got bullied in person.
Right.
That is not how it is anymore. And so we have programs that teach the parents about internet awareness, what kind of apps, but ultimately really what we want to do is we have a program for the adults called Stewards of Children. And this teaches parents how to recognize, react, and respond appropriately to child sexual abuse. And because the minute that we put out, these are the apps that predators are on, they've already created 100 more. So it's really just looking into what parental controls. Be involved in your child's life. Don't let them just sit in their room for 3 hours where you think they're playing a game. Predators will get to these kids via online games. So just be involved, ask those questions, check their stuff, make sure there's parental control so that they don't end up finding themselves as a victim.
Absolutely. And as far as, you guys, as you mentioned, and you've been walking me through, so many different sorts of resources and programs, but you guys are having an event coming up very soon to continue those programs, to raise some money, work as a fundraiser. It's a big softball tournament in just a couple of weeks. Can you talk to me all about that?
I will, yeah. So what's important to know is that the Child Abuse Council, all of the services we provide are free. So we will never turn away a child or family for their inability to pay. We don't collect health insurance, any of that. And so to do that, over 30% of our operating budget is made up from fundraising monies. So yes, this is our 5th year of the Child Abuse Council Strikeout Child Abuse Softball Tournament. It's a co-ed tournament. It's for players that just want to come out and have fun, on up to a more expert skill level. It's a lot of fun. It's at the beautiful Ross Park. We will have Dodgers Doggies out there as a food truck. We have Jello shots. We have raffles going on, and we have a really fun costume contest.
Oh, fun. Lots going on, and that info is there. That's coming up on Saturday, May 3rd, and that starts at 9 in the morning, and then I'm sure it just kind of can go all day depending on how things go.
It does. It usually goes till about 7 or 8 at night when we're getting into the finals.
And you guys are still looking for teams. You have teams, but you're still looking for teams. That can be businesses, that can be agencies in the community, that can be a big group of friends.
Yes.
And like you mentioned, the money that those groups are raising is then going back to you guys to be able to provide all that you do for the community.
Yes, every bit of what we make on those events goes into services for the kids.
Anything that I haven't asked or anything else that you'd just like to share with the community about the work that you guys do, the event that you have coming up?
I would just encourage people to, become aware of the services in the county that they live in. Understand that these things do happen. Child abuse is a horrible subject, but when you walk into a facility like ours, it is just a place of hope. And that's what we want people to understand is we need to break that cycle of abuse.
Sure.
And with just a little bit of a helping hand, intervention, some advocacy, these kids and families will go on to have a happy, healthy life.
Yeah, no matter what you may be going through or think you may be going through, you guys are really there to provide that hope and that push that you can move forward and find success in life moving forward.
Yes.
Awesome. All right, Kylene, thank you so much for being here with us. We so appreciate it. So much good information.